All right, hit the top of the hour here, so we'll get things going. I see people are rolling in there. Thank you for bearing with a little bit of the technical difficulty on my end and starting a little bit early. So, hello everyone, welcome to today's Managed Methods CoSN Solution Spotlight in partnership with CoSN. Monitoring Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, and Zoom for more secure schools. My name is Jake Kosowski, and I'll be your presenter for today. Just want to confirm real quick, maybe Greg and Diana, you can help me here. We are recording, correct? It looks like we are.
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So again, like I said, my name is Jake Kosowski with Managed Methods. Be presenting with my co-presenters here, Greg and Diana, on monitoring Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, and Zoom for more secure schools for our Managed Methods CoSN Solution Spotlight. So we'll get going here real quick. Okay. So for today, for those of you who may not know about Managed Methods, who we are and what we do, I'll give a little introduction and overview of that, and then get into the challenges of the cloud connected school today. The three main challenges being cybersecurity, cyber safety, and compliance. Talk a little bit about the differences between cybersecurity and safety in K-12 schools. The compliance challenges schools are facing in the cloud today, and then with alongside Greg, Hogan, and Diana Gill, my co-presenters today, we'll get into the layers of security and technology in the K-12 sector, go over those cloud security gaps and challenges districts are facing today, and talk about why there's a need for Google, Microsoft, and Zoom security monitoring in schools today. And then we'll have time at the end for audience Q&A. Obviously, if you have questions throughout the today's presentation, feel free to drop those into the chat panel or the Q&A panel. We'll be sure to get to those at the end. I'd like to leave 10 to 15 minutes, obviously, for audience Q&A today. So Managed Methods, who are we? What do we do? So Managed Methods, for those of you who don't know, is a cybersecurity, safety, and compliance platform for K through 12 school districts. Again, purely dedicated to education, protecting. Right now, we protect millions of users across over 1,300 schools, based in Boulder, Colorado, at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, a little northwest of Denver. And currently it's a beautiful, I want to say 70 degrees and sunny out, which is a nice change of pace after getting some spring snow a couple weeks ago here in Colorado. So looking forward to that summer weather, and hopefully everyone is kind of experiencing the same, or starting to at least. We launched our K-12 platform in the spring of 2017, so around 4 years ago. And we are Google for Education partners as well as Microsoft Education partners. So very integrated into the community with those two. And we are FERPA, COPA, and student data privacy certified, as we take obviously protecting student and staff and district data obviously very seriously. So we have a little over 40 employees purely focused on education, with a dedicated customer success and support team. And then plenty of us here are parents with children in school themselves, or have spouses and family members who are educators. So even here, internally at Managed Methods in our personal lives, we're ingrained in the K-12 community, and are proud to come to work every day and help better protect schools and students and staff in their cloud environments. Just want to share a little bit about some industry accolades we've collected in recent years. You see the EdTech Awards through EdTech Digest, recognizing us as a cool tool. Tech and Learning Awards of Excellence, Remote Learning, happy to get some recognition there. But the two that I would say we're definitely most proud of to receive, and I know David has definitely shared this in his presentations as well, would be our Best Places to Work recognition here in Colorado, as well as our Customer Service Awards, because providing that top-notch service for districts and the IT teams, who are greatly appreciative of our support. It's something we take great pride in, and obviously are proud to receive that recognition from our industry peers. And we also love to hear from our customers and hear what they have to say. You'll hear from two of them today, in Greg and Diana. And we have customers far and wide across the country here, but also internationally as well. We have a few districts to our friends up in the north in Canada, as well as a few overseas too. So we're growing, and we love to hear what our customers have to say about us and the work we do to help protect their districts and their students and their staff. So typically in a in an in-person environment, this would be the point where I'd like to get a feel for the audience today and kind of learn a bit more about who you all are. I typically ask if you are a network admin or a system admin, or maybe you're a director of technology, kind of raise your hand, get a feel for the audience. So if you want to, drop that into the chat and, let us know kind of who you are, where you're from, where you're watching today, that would be awesome. So, and then usually we'd ask, if you're Google Workspace District, Microsoft 365, using OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams. Maybe you're using Zoom for video conferencing or Google Meet. Typically, we see the hybrid route as well with districts, using both Google and Microsoft domains. We get a feel for the tools that you're kind of using in your toolbox. Thank you. I see people dropping some names and titles in the chat, so appreciate that. And then we typically ask, why this session and what brought you in today, and we'd go from there. I see a lot of tech director, network admins. I'm seeing Tennessee, Minnesota, Google Workspace, and Zoom. Yeah, definitely see a lot of that. Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you, everyone, and we'll definitely, hopefully, you guys take some things from today that can help give more visibility and control into your own environments moving forward. Awesome. So three main challenges we typically see in the cloud connected school, and what our customers and others in the industry will come to us for is mainly for cybersecurity, cyber safety, and compliance in their Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 domains. So let's get into those a little bit and get going here. So why cybersecurity? Why are we why are we still talking about cybersecurity? I feel like everyone it's at the top of everyone's list, but really it's not slowing down at all. As you see here, 408 publicly disclosed incidents occurred in 2020, which is an 18% increase compared to 2019. And that's from the K-12 Cybersecurity Resource Center, our friends over there who we're happy to partner and sponsor with. And those incidents, they lead to loss of learning continuity. So attacks, shut down schools and networks for hours, perhaps days, leads to stolen student, parent, faculty, and staff data. It could lead to financial damage to a school district, and also even hold districts and school leaders liable. So cybersecurity, it's not slowing down, and something that is at the top of everyone's list, especially moving forward after recent events in the past year, with everyone being spread out more. And then, from the K-12 Cybersecurity Center, again, they've tracked over 1,100 incidents since 2016. And then in 2020, we really started to see that shift where, more of those publicly disclosed incidents, especially in the past year, were, data breaches and data leaks, whether they're accidental or intentional, accidentally internally, or an intentional attack from the outside. But a lot of them too were those virtual class and meeting invasions that were occurring, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, when students and staff were mainly shifting into those remote learning environments and getting their remote learning up and running. But those student social security numbers and information, they can go for a hefty price on the dark web. So definitely attractive things for cyber criminals to go after. So, and those breaches can also lead to student safety concerns, which we'll definitely get into. So I left one example here, a recent attack, I think, toward the end of last year with a Las Vegas area school district falling victim to an attack that led to student PII data, personally identifiable information, being leaked. So definitely is a blurring between cybersecurity and cyber safety that we are seeing today. So cybersecurity and cyber safety, kind of what is that difference? Well, in cybersecurity, as I'm sure a lot of you know, it protects school technology infrastructure and that personal and that information data on your infrastructure and in your cloud environments. So those social security numbers, the credit card information, health info, your networks, your hardware, and then also your cloud applications, of course. And then, with cybersecurity, you're looking at protecting the physical and emotional well-being of students, faculty, and staff online. So mainly you're looking for those things such as explicit content, threatening violence, any incidents or signals of self-harm that may be living in your applications or in web searches and things, as well as cyberbullying that is spreading around through your email, your documents, messaging and conferencing applications, and social media. Because a lot of that online, it's somewhat invisible and makes it hard to detect and intervene on, especially when it's living inside of cloud applications and in web searches. So, a few examples here that children and young students face being, cyberbullying, inappropriate, explicit content, illegal file sharing, identity theft and fraud, any adult content too that could be living in your cloud drives or being shared through email and everything. And then there's that increase in the virtual and meet invasions that I mentioned earlier in remote learning environments that can expose young students to some safety incidents that we would obviously want to be preventing. And then we get into that third area, compliance. So, and there's more than web filtering to consider for this. So, on the federal front, obviously you got your FERPA, COPA, and SIPA laws. At the state level, we have a couple here in Colorado, but California has their Consumer Data Privacy Act. Virginia rolled out their own recently too, and I believe right now, at the moment at least, Illinois is in the middle of rolling out their SOPA Privacy Act as well. So definitely state level laws that districts need to be paying attention to as well. And then international as well. So, you have your GDPR if you have foreign exchange students that are, walking your halls or using your cloud environments. And then as well as if you're sending students overseas too, definitely data regulations that you need to be considering at the international level as well. And then I left a few resources here, for people to take a look at or recommend visiting. The Student Privacy Compass, which is formerly known as FERPA Sherpa, and then the Parent Coalition for Student Privacy. So if you haven't, I would strongly recommend looking through those as well to get familiar with, compliance challenges and data privacy laws that pertain to you. So I wanted to share this graphic because, like cybersecurity, like a school, has a lot of different components. The library or cafeteria, the administrative offices, health offices, and then cybersecurity has a lot of components, as I mentioned too, and a lot of different layers. And that's mainly where I want to, bring in my co-panelists to kind of talk through, particularly the cloud layer, but really how, say Managed Methods works in conjunction with all those, and to bring that visibility and control into Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 alongside those other technologies. So now I want to take, some time to introduce my co-panelists and, let them share a little bit about themselves before we get into the larger conversation today. So, I'm joined by Greg Hogan, who is coming from Bibb County School District. is the Network Data Security Coordinator, and it's been in that role since 2017, I believe. Greg, correct me if I'm wrong. But Greg has been a customer of Managed Methods, or I guess Bibb has been a customer of Managed Methods since December of 2018. And then in his free time, Greg, I know you enjoy astrophotography, and it's a good hobby of yours. So, and I've seen pictures of yours on Twitter. So,
cool.
Yeah, you take some good pictures. I don't know if you want to give a quick introduction of yourself in Bibb County, before we
sure,
have
absolutely.
Diana share about herself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been with Bibb County for 4 years now. I've been in K-12 IT for quite a while, almost, I think about 19 years in now. So I've been in this side of things, started as a technician, worked my way up to sysadmin, and in the last 4 years have been network security coordinator for this school district. Really excited about sharing this particular product. This was a product we didn't know we needed until we saw it and put it in place, and it has really just kind of given us insight into our district. We're an Office 365 environment, so it's given us insight at a layer and a level that we didn't know we could see, and it has saved us many, many times in numerous situations, ranging from phishing to PII information to copyright information to explicit content on OneDrives. I mean, these are the kind of things that you don't know is there until you have the tools that can see it. So I'm excited for you guys to see this particular product and how powerful it is and why your district needs it. So yeah, so I'm excited for the next little while.
Awesome. And then we are also joined today by Diana Gill from East Porter County School Corporation out in Indiana. And Diana, I believe you've been there since July of 2019, and you were a instructional technology coach for 4 years prior to that. And you're also the author of a book, Copy Righteous, and a podcast of the same name, which I listened to and digging through your book as well. So I strongly recommend people to go out and check that out too. So Diana, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So East Porter is a smaller rural school district in Northwest Indiana. We have about 2,500 students, and that also means we have a small technology staff. And so Managed Methods has been huge for us. It's almost like an additional staff member who is helping prioritize the work that we do in any given day. I was originally an English teacher. I did not ever imagine I would become a technology director. So I do a lot of work around educating our teachers and students about phishing and data privacy and CIPA and COPA and FERPA and all of those things. So a lot of the examples I'll share today kind of come from that human element that I wouldn't be able to address without something like Managed Methods.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And then, thanks to the two of you for joining us today. I'm looking forward to having this conversation and, sharing more about Managed Methods to our listeners today as well. So I like to bring up this graphic and, talk through, the cybersecurity tech stack within a school district. And so, you got your infrastructure, at the very middle there, but your identity and access levels, your endpoints, with content filtering for CIPA E-rate purposes, even at the network level as well. But then really that cloud security layer and cloud application security with Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 monitoring there for your email, your file sharing and video conferencing. It's been a growing layer for the say past 5 years or so, but really I feel like in the last year has kind of become more of the focal point as students and staff have been a little bit more remote. I know obviously now, and hopefully, students and staff are returning to their in-person environments. But I think it's kind of brought the cloud layer to the attention of the broader industry. So I wonder if maybe you two could talk to, maybe kind of what the changes have been, say, in the past maybe year or so, and kind of, why cloud application security may be so important moving forward in monitoring your environments with Google and Microsoft before we dig in a little bit further.
Sure, I'll jump in real quick with that. I mean, last March of last year, when a lot of school districts were kind of backed into a corner and forced to go into this remote learning scenario, everything needed to shift to the cloud if it wasn't already there. And shifting that much content to a cloud level of um, shifting that much content outside of your district and having it hosted elsewhere where it could be easily accessible, you're going to have to put a security layer in place. You're going to have to um, put these parameters in place to have that visibility in there, because now your cloud is syncing with your on-premise environment. And when these people are all going to, and all these students are going to come back, they're bringing all that content back in. And there's just a level of security that you need. You need to have that insight before it starts to come back, like malicious files and things like that. And that's why it was so important that I'm glad that we had this product in place before all of this happened, because it was a sense of security for us that, hey, we have this safeguard in place, but a lot of districts didn't. So I could see us shifting again, going down this road again, I guess. So I would hope that districts would learn from the past year and put in place the things that they need, so that they have that sense of security in the shift that may come again.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add to that is this increased awareness of mental health and social emotional learning. That visibility has been instrumental in making sure that our counselors and our principals and our other leadership can maintain that visibility, so that we're making sure that we're not only taking care of our students and their data protection, but also just who they are as people. And this has been one of the main ways that we've been able to do that, addressing threats, threatening situations, or explicit content, or self-harm, cyberbullying. I wouldn't be able to be as helpful without something like this, with this visibility that I'm getting, alerts in my email. The principals are getting alerts, the counselors are getting alerts, so they can address those situations really fast. And so we had it in place before COVID, but I don't know if we would have been able to be as helpful from afar without something like this.
Right. Definitely in the past year, things have definitely changed. I think they'll, stay changed for the foreseeable future, even as we start moving back into that in-person environments as well. So say for folks out there who, maybe moving to the cloud has been a little bit more recent, I guess, or newer, they're less familiar, but the last year has obviously brought that more to attention. So I was kind of hoping, kind of where would you guys say potential cloud security gaps would be, say in a district environment, maybe from your guys' experience, and why ultimately led you guys to bring on a platform such as ManagedMethods when you guys initially did so. Was it, things that I've listed here? Was there the loss of that account visibility kind of happening? Were there things within like your Google and Microsoft environments, in particular with like applications that maybe other areas of your tech stack weren't kind of picking up on? And then same with images as well, and content being spread around in your environments too. So kind of where are those, cloud security gaps that districts and their IT leaders need to be thinking about?
For us, it was, I think one of the big selling points for us when we first saw the product was not realizing how many threats were hitting our accounts from all over the world. Having that map showing us how many of our staff accounts were just getting hammered daily from all over the globe. And that was a big eye opener. So, that encouraged us to implement conditional access and multi-factor authentication, and really tighten in the reins on when accounts and where accounts could be logged in from. And the other big thing that really we didn't know we had an issue with was copyright material. We didn't really know that, we had teachers that were uploading movies to their OneDrive and sharing them, and just this is massive cloud storage that we just didn't have visibility into. And we were able to quickly completely shut that down, like search for specific file types, file size, keywords on, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever, and address that. And now we haven't had an issue in 3+ years since then. So things like that, these are things that school systems don't look for or know to look for in a sense, but they're happening. And with a tool like this, you get that visibility, and it closes the gap, as you're saying, it closes the gap that you don't know you have.
Yeah, and the map that you're talking about, Greg, I just want everyone to visualize it for a second. It's such a nice dashboard when you log on. Like I start my day, I look at the help desk, and I sit down and I look at Managed Methods. And there's this beautiful map that like for the whole world, and it shows you where there have been attempted logins and successful logins, and that has really helped us as well. It was frightening the first time I looked at it. Like, this is happening, and I did not know. So I love that you mentioned that. The other thing that I've been using it for more this year than ever before are phishing attempts. So there's this really great feature where you can quarantine emails. And the last few phishing attempts that our staff has experienced have been pretty good. There was one recently, it looked like a former superintendent was asking for money, and one of our teachers was giving this this superintendent money. So I was able to quarantine all of those emails, call the teacher and be like, please stop giving this person money. It's not who you think it is. And it's been, I would say phishing has just totally jumped through the roof the last year. Would you agree, Greg?
Yes, absolutely. That's an easy way in. And that's the simplest form of attack. So that's because most school websites, most school districts have all of their staff email addresses listed on the webpage. So what we have seen is we'll see a fake principal's email account be created. It might be principal123@gmail.com, but they change the display name, and then they email every teacher in that school, and it says, are you available, or click here for this, and it's just that happens weekly. And they like to do it on a Friday night because they know I'm done or they think I'm done for the night, and they done for the weekend. And all of these accounts get hit on a Saturday or a late Friday, and they're hoping damage will be done by Monday. But these are the kinds of things that that you can help mitigate with this product and see and really shut down quickly. Someone in the chat is asking to see a screenshot of the dashboard. Jake, I'll try and pull a snapshot of ours and I'll email it to you, and maybe we can put it up at the end or whatever and just kind of show what ours looks like.
Sure. Yeah, I can bring that up too toward the end as well.
It really does kind of speak to a range of technical ability too. Like I mentioned, Greg lives in the world of security and data protection and stuff, and I'm coming from the classroom, and it's so intuitive that, it's really just user friendly. So I'll say that.
Very much so.
Great. So then, when we're talking with districts, and our customers as well, and hearing their challenges, and I want, kind of want to emphasize that the challenges and the exposures that we're talking about, they were there before COVID and before the pandemic and everything, but now they've become a little bit more apparent and obvious. So definitely a couple, that I listed out here that we typically see is that limited visibility and control. And I know a few folks in the chat have already talked about experiencing those things a little bit and earlier in our session. But the limited visibility and control over cloud-based the file sharing students and staff are doing, that emailing activity, and then video conferencing as well. And then, like I mentioned, the distance and remote learning had magnified those problems a little bit more. So Greg and Diana, you guys kind of touched on it a little bit already, but maybe, as districts, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, and then even looking forward now, I think most districts are probably going to be operating in those one-to-one environments where students and staff, or I guess students in particular, have that device that they can, take to and from school. Maybe before is, they checked it out while they were at school and left it at school. But now that those devices and, all that data is leaving the, district environment, kind of how does that loss of, potential loss, I guess, of limited or visibility and control, impact districts that they need to be thinking about moving forward, and kind of where does Managed Methods help offer that solution for you both?
I think for us, being as it's a cloud-driven product, it helps just with the continued visibility as soon as the device leaves the network, and with everything being synced to the cloud. We continue to see malicious files that happen, and we can delete them before that device comes back in. Yes, there's a level of, you're limited when a device leaves your network. Your support for that device diminishes greatly because it's not part of the domain, or there's certain policies that can't be applied. But when it's in a cloud environment and a kid may download a malicious file and it's on their desktop and now it's synced to their OneDrive, a product like Managed Methods catches it, can quarantine it for you, and it can be locked away before it ever even comes back onto the network. So you know that your devices are relatively clean coming back in. So that's the advantage of taking with cloud solution products. But from a support standpoint, we got very limited in being able to help fix devices that are off the network. We can't access them the normal way. We can't apply group policies the normal way because, again, they're off the network. And we're a Windows environment. We don't use Chromebooks, so we're limited in that. Chromebooks manage a little differently, but we're strictly a Windows environment. So there's some limitations there, and we've had to kind of change how we do our work. We're kind of implement Intune and more cloud-driven MDMs and things like that. So yeah, there's definitely been some hurdles, and it's reshaped how we think and will operate in the coming school year. When we bring all these devices back, clean them all, and redistribute them, we're going to change a lot of how we do things. So it's definitely flipped us on our head, but in a good way, because it's backed us into a corner and it's forced us to try things we normally wouldn't try for fear of disruption. Now you're kind of not given a choice to try the things that you would normally not try because they're big and scary. We didn't really have a choice to. It was either sink or swim, and there's been some great successes that have come out of that, I guess is where I'm going with that.
Our environment is a little bit different. So we've been in Google for nearly a decade, and we have always had this conversation with staff and students that there is no expectation of privacy. While when you're using district-owned devices for school-related things, there isn't an expectation of privacy. But when we talk about that, that doesn't always feel good, especially as an adult, to be like, wait, you're watching me? Which is sort of like the bad rap that technology departments can sometimes kind of get, even though, those of us living in the technology departments know we don't actually have time to do any of that. And so what I like about Managed Methods is it doesn't feel like an I gotcha. Like when we talk about it, I'm very transparent when we talk about this product with teachers. This doesn't exist to catch people doing things wrong. It exists to protect all of us. And so I think about like the FERPA policy that we have in place that is looking for instances where a teacher might share like an IEP document on Google Drive, or they might send an email with too many points of identifying information in and about a student that violates that FERPA policy. And so I can see that was violated, that those things were quarantined. And then it's a phone call like, hey, this happened. You probably don't have access to this file anymore. This is why we want to make a change when we're communicating about students in this way. And so it helps the technology can't solve human problems, so we have to continue that education piece. And so I always, every time there's an instance like this, I can flip it and turn it around into a conversation. And sometimes we've been doing this for so long, and I can't take all of the credit. The technology director before me put all of that stuff into place and was working on that culture long before I came. But Managed Methods, it really has been instrumental in this. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of just distracting myself with all the stuff I want to say. But it's almost to the point now where like a phishing attempt happens and Managed Methods doesn't always tell me first because the teachers are so fast about it. I'll get an email like, oh, this looks kind of suspicious. And sometimes it's not, there's nothing even wrong with the email. They're just like so on alert about it all the time because we talk about it so much. So it's kind of funny. But I think, I guess the point I want to drive home is that like, it's not an I gotcha. It's oh, maybe the teachers didn't know that maybe they didn't know they shouldn't be downloading that film or something. Which they probably should, but like, let's not get ourselves in trouble and get a lawsuit slapped on us. And this is just another way to kind of keep us all safe. That's always how I think we should frame it when talking specifically to adults.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And turning that moment into a teaching moment is awesome that you guys are doing that. We do the same thing with the teachers or the staff members will get an alert if an email contains a social security number. And HR is notorious for it because a lot of applications come in with a social security number in the document or in the email, and they now get an alert saying, hey, let's not send emails out with a social security number in it. And we turn that into just kind of a teaching moment. We don't want to block it right now, but we want them to be aware that they're doing this, and then they'll think twice about it. We're encouraging them to encrypt their emails if it's going to have content like that. So we've come a long way, but I think it's great that you guys are doing that as a teaching moment, because that's what it needs to be. It's not an I gotcha. It's there to protect you and also teach you how to be safer online and do your job safer, because everybody's a target, and then your district is only as strong as your weakest link in that sense. So you really have to train from the top down all the way, and that's really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you both for sharing on that. And I'm seeing some questions roll through. So we definitely expand on those a little bit more in our Q&A session when we get to that. I want to move on a little bit because, some questions that we typically see here at Managed Methods when, talking to districts and everything, asking them, what does their external file sharing look like for your domain? So again, are files being shared outside or to the outside? And do they have risk in them? Are folks outside of your district environments, being granted access into a cloud drive or getting access to a document where they can kind of see into your environment there? And potentially, are there any SIPA violations with that? But then really in the past year, with the rise of remote learning with Google Meet and then chat and Google Classroom even, and then Microsoft Teams for the Microsoft 365 shops out there. Being able to track if there's attendant or our students attending class remotely, any external users coming in, but then that third-party application, those third-party apps being granted access, I guess, or permissions into, say, school domain accounts, and there may be some risky things being granted that students and staff may not be aware of. So maybe on the Google Meet and Google Meet and like Microsoft Teams front of things, especially in the past year, and that third-party application access there. I was wondering if you both could kind of talk to that for our listeners, and kind of what do folks need to be looking out for, I guess, and maybe how does Managed Methods help you guys track or monitor those aspects of the cloud?
When I first took this job, it was long before, we knew we were going to be teaching through a global pandemic. And I used to say, you should never do this, but I used to say, I will never open up Google Hangouts and Google Meet. Our students will never video conference. That's so unsafe, and there's not a way to monitor that. And of course, that wasn't true. I totally had to open it up, and now I know I'll never close it, but I can feel confident in providing that as a tool for students, because there's a safe way to guide them through that now. I feel better about that. The other thing that you mentioned with the authorization of third-party apps and stuff, one of the things our students are not supposed to be doing, and teachers really either, under our AUP, is using their school accounts for like shopping. And so we have policies that scan for that. And every day it's like Wish, eBay, all of these things that people are trying to use their school credentials to shop online with. And so I see a lot of that. And I like having those policies just kind of running in the background, so I don't have to actually do much to make sure that we're protecting ourselves there.
Yes, absolutely. And the product with Managed Methods, you can go in and you can see what applications have started to creep into your environment, and then revoke those applications out and clear them out. We've seen people sign in with their Amazon Echoes at home, and all of a sudden now you've got all these Echo devices linked to district accounts, and we can blow all those out. we try to encourage our users not to use their work accounts for personal stuff, but people do it, and they just do. It's just a habit. We have our district enrolled in haveibeenpwned.com, which is a great website for just keeping track of breaches, and we'll get a report if there's a breach. That's just another solution on top of this, that we just try to keep a handle of breaches that are happening. So yeah, lots of tools, but again, just you have to have eyes on it. You have to be on top of it, and you have to revoke the access when you feel that it needs to be revoked in order to keep your environment clean.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you both for sharing on that. Why security inside of Google, Microsoft, and Zoom? And here I'm kind of getting more into the shared responsibility model. I've heard plenty of times where anecdotally at least, where a district, they they have their say it's Google Enterprise or Microsoft, and there's assumptions out there that they've migrated to the cloud and everything's taken care of, and they can kind of sit back, but that's not always the case. It's up to folks to be monitoring their districts and their domains and everything to make sure students and staff are being safe, and data is not being exposed, and taking those steps to secure everything themselves. So typical questions that we would answer or look to make sure districts can answer are these things here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but because we've kind of been touching on them already. But for folks in the audience, these are kind of questions I would be asking yourselves to make sure that all these boxes are checked for your guys' environments. With it being a solution spotlight, I definitely want to leave some time for some Q&A with our with Greg and Diana at the end as well too. But at a high level, we're providing that monitoring, auditing capabilities into your Google and Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 environments. So like Greg and Diana mentioned, that account access and what users are doing in those cloud apps, the data security and privacy monitoring in there to see where data is leaking and how you can plug those holes in your environments. The threat protection, so scanning around the clock to help protect against malicious attacks, and then monitoring for those student safety signals that live in the Google and Microsoft environments as well, that have kind of greatly increased in the past year, I would definitely say. And Dan, I know you've touched on the human element of cybersecurity quite a bit as well too. So at a high level, those are things that we provide, but we can dig in a little bit more. So real-time visibility in the apps, so the visibility, the auditing, the monitoring of that inappropriate behavior, and then identifying where that data is being improperly emailed or shared. Let's see here, data security. So, automating that data loss prevention to protect against or protect your financial data from being exposed, whether it's accidentally or maliciously, and detecting those anomalous events that could indicate unauthorized access to data. And I kind of want to stop there real quick. For Greg and Diana, if you guys maybe want to chime in, for listeners, what are some of those anomalous events that maybe need to be kept, paid attention to, I guess, that could signal, say, like an account is, compromised, or students are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, or staff as well too, real quick.
I'll throw out a quick example of just how powerful the product can be when it comes to detecting that type of information, especially privacy information. We've had situations where staff members will have a scan of their social security card or their driver's license. We all do it. We have a digital copy. We might take a picture with our phone just for quick convenience. And if their account is synced with their OneDrive, it uploads to the OneDrive, and then ManagedMethods sees that, and it's like, hey, this is a scanned picture of a social security card, and it flags you and says, hey, this is on here. That's the kind of things that people don't think about, that they're putting themselves at risk, not realizing at all that they've done that, because they needed to get that information to HR or whoever, but they've put themselves at risk by doing that, syncing it with a cloud service. And now this product is alerting someone like me or Diana to reach out to that person and say, hey, listen, it's not the best idea to take a picture of your social security card and have it stored on a cloud service. And we can, again, go back to that teaching moment and gently present the scenario and say, just delete it, take it off. And that's the kind of things that this product can help with. And going back to the human element of just the self-harm awareness, and just this year has been tough on students, and it's been very difficult. And we've actually, with this product and in conjunction with our content filter, have developed a whole protocol for alerting school counselors and principals for situations that come up where kids are either searching for something that might be relevant to self-harm, or just content that might generate enough questions for an adult to intervene and do a well check. So we have a whole procedure now in place this past year that has worked really, really well. And we wouldn't be able to do it without a solution like this. And it's just, the technology department has now blended its resources to the counselor department, and those two departments, we have tools in place to help them do their jobs better and catch these early instances happening. And that's huge. And I think they're more appreciative of technology taking that step in and helping in situations like that. So those are two examples that I can give that we have had multiple instances of just this year alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say a lot of the time, Managed Methods is sort of the catalyst to start those conversations. Like, Managed Methods is the first line of defense that alerts you, but sometimes it happens in the opposite order. So recently I had a principal reach out and say, hey, there's this disruptive thing going on. I'll try to be vague just because we're sharing publicly. But these students are having this like really polarizing political conversation. It's involving some petitions, and we're worried about this. So can you just take a quick look? And so I'm able to do a live email search, or a live file search in Google Drive. I found the files. I grabbed them real quick, took a scan. There's nothing dangerous happening, and I was able to put that principal at ease and then give the students their files right back because they weren't doing anything wrong. So it's nice that the counselors and the principals know that this is a resource for us to help investigate things quickly and easily, because if it weren't for something like this, the old way of the way I used to do this is log into the student's account and scan through their stuff and hope they didn't put it into trash. And it would take so long. It was obnoxious. So this is like within a couple of minutes, I'm able to provide principals the information they need to deal with a discipline situation, which is it's great. So it's like really an ideal situation.
Yep. And there's Francis Liu asked a question about how's the solution compared to advanced threat protection. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with what Microsoft has done with their advanced threat protection. It's a great product. Managed Methods has just made the solution so much easier to do. They've taken what Microsoft is doing already and made it easier to navigate. It's a cleaner looking dashboard. It's just simpler to do the things that Microsoft has already in place. Microsoft isn't the best about making the tools that they have available easy to use. They're getting better, but they're behind the curve a little bit on their own product. And Managed Methods has seen where the tools are there and the data is there, and has just compiled it in a way in a dashboard that's just easy to navigate and process and quickly spit out. So that's the difference that I would say is between the two products. They're the same. It's taking advantage of the same content. It's using the content that's there. It's just making it easier to navigate and process and get to the right people quickly.
Great. Thank you both for sharing on that. And then I'll move through here fairly quickly. So kind of on that note too that you just mentioned, Greg. So with threat protection, obviously we offer malware and phishing scanning through emails, file attachments, links, message bodies, all of that. And you can also identify those risky third-party applications and revoke those permissions that are being granted. Move here real quick. But we also have cyber safety monitoring capabilities with our machine learning and AI monitoring to help detect, self-harm content that's in text attachments, images, and alert the appropriate school administrators that need to be, alerted to intervene as early as possible. And I know, obviously, in the past year, that's been a very it's been something that's been coming up a lot more that, obviously I've seen it in the news and everything too. So I was kind of wondering, like, in those files and emails and everything, if you guys could maybe real quickly, I know we're getting toward the top of the hour there, but maybe talk about, say, how this aspect of, say, cybersecurity or of the IT administrator's job, this has become more of a, I guess, an issue across the board, I would say. But where, I guess, should our listeners be looking for these signals potentially, and how does Managed Methods help you guys in this area?
The two main areas that this type of content gets pulled up is in email conversations between students, and OneDrive files is usually where the explicit content would show up. Email conversations between students. We don't allow our students to email outside of our district, so the conversations only take place within the district and usually just student to student. But it flags those conversations, and very quickly you can pull down the whole email thread. You don't have to log into a student's account and try to filter through all of it. It's a nice HTML document or PDF, however you want to export it, that you can pull down. That's the main area that type of information is showing up. And the other area would be Teams chats, happens in there. And then there's our content filter helps us with the search terms for web content. And that's not in the Managed Methods side of things, but our content filter helps us with the search terms. But that's really where the content is at, is email. Kids like to write in documents. Some kids are super smart and they think that they can get around the chat features by having chats in documents. They'll create a new Word document and have a conversation in there. But we see it, we catch that. I mean, that content is flagged also. So those are the areas we see.
Yeah, Diana, I see you shaking your head as well. So
yeah, it's the same thing. I had an instance this year where a bunch of students were in a Google Slides presentation using that to chat, but they were chatting in white font. So for a long time, the teacher just thought it was just a plain deck. It was not a plain deck at all. So that was fun.
Yeah. Cool. And I know we're getting to time, and I know there's some questions in the chat that I definitely want to get to before we wrap up here. We'll leave you all listeners with some helpful resources, obviously for cyber safety, cybersecurity, and then general interest here. And then we've also put together our own hybrid learning security success kit, and we'll make sure this gets out to everyone who's in attendance today. Work with CoSN to get that out to everyone, so you can download this PDF yourself, or you can go to our website. And then if you'd like to, take a 30-day test drive and see for yourself. You can sign up for a free trial here as well, or you can visit our website to find get a free trial. And then Greg, I know we were talking about dashboards there, but there's a little snapshot of what our dashboard looks like there. It's a little small, but so yeah, I would recommend if take a 30-day test drive if for folks to see for yourself there. So let's get to some questions here, and I know we're kind of getting toward the top of the hour here and at the most of our time, but I do see one in here, Greg, about how Managed Methods interacts with or adds value to your MFA policies that you have in place.
Yeah, I was just typing up an answer to that one.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll spit it out real quick. But basically, it gives more of a visual representation. I mean, the multi-factor shows us like an audit log in the 365 dashboard, but Managed Methods gives more of a visual representation, especially on a map. You can click around. And then there's a login analyzer, which is a tool built into that, which goes into more greater detail as to location, IP, And then you can set in policies in place as to what do you want to happen when this type of situation happens? Do you want to do you want the account to be locked out? Things like that. So, you know, they kind of work hand in hand. But I'd say for reporting purposes, higher ups, bigwigs, they like visual representations of what's going on. They like pie charts and graphs and maps and colors and easily displayed content. And that type of information is what's presented from the managed method side of things, whereas the Microsoft side doesn't really give you that. It's just strictly data.
Great. Looking through here real quick, see if we got more questions. Oh, maybe a couple just popped up. Oh, I just saw your message come through, Greg. Let's see here. I know we had someone talk about it a little bit earlier, and I know Diana, you kind of answered it already in text or in the chat here, but maybe for other listeners who weren't able to see it, maybe talking about they come from a smaller team, and I know we work with a lot of districts who have smaller teams too, but maybe kind of how something like Managed Methods helps support those smaller teams in monitoring all of their, you know, cybersecurity and safety and compliance risks in Google and Microsoft. Hoping you could talk to that a little bit more before you know, we get wrapped up here.
I think that question was coming from, you know, concern of budget, right? And I think it just comes down to making your case. This is more important than anything that we do. We keep our kids safe. And so it's definitely worth spending those costs up front than it would be to fix any potential issues that arise because you didn't prioritize this. So to me, it's a no-brainer. The business office should be in support of funding this sort of a project. And I'm lucky to have that support, but it also is years in the making. This isn't the first product that we've had that did something like this. And it's not the only thing that we use to make sure that our students are safe. I think I'm answering your question. I don't know how I would survive without it. There's just me and 3 other people.
Likewise, it's just me doing this particular aspect of it. And this feels like me with, you know, 10, 15 people underneath me. This gives me so much more flexibility, and I'm a lot more productive in my job with this tool. I'd be lost without it, honestly.
Well, and it's to the point where, like, probably, and you correct me if you think I'm wrong, Greg, like this work wouldn't be getting done without a tool like this.
No, not at all. It would be, it's out of sight, out of mind completely.
See another question here. Is it ADM or device or FTE? And I think if I'm answering your question correctly, you know, Managed Methods is at the API level. So you know, we're connecting to your Google or Microsoft accounts and monitoring from the API level there. So we're device agnostic. And I guess network agnostic as well.
Yeah, there's no agent on devices. There's no client to deploy. This is strictly 100% tied into your cloud. So you don't have to worry about software deployments or agents or updating software. This completely outside of that. And I'll throw in a tidbit. Their support, Managed Method support, is amazing. They are fantastic. They will do well checks on your accounts. They'll do a health check, I guess is the better way to put it. They'll do a health check on your account. They're quick to respond, very quick to respond, and will go above and beyond in helping in a situation and make sure that you understand maybe why something's not doing the way it's doing, or how to do it better, or tweak the policies a little bit. Can't speak highly enough of their support.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't set up any of this by myself. Someone from Managed Methods sat with me and we talked about every single policy, where to click. It was amazing.
Yep.
Well, great. I'm not seeing any other questions come through. And I know we're getting toward, you know, the top of the hour here. So I think we'll wrap up there. So I want to, thank everyone for tuning in today to learn a little bit more about managed methods. And also thank you, Greg and Diana, for, joining today to share your experiences using managed methods and, helping get questions from our listeners answered here. And then also thank you to CoSN, who, we are, partners with and sponsors with, for hosting us for a managed methods solution spotlight. So yeah, again, thank you, Greg and Diana, for joining. And if anyone has any questions, managedmethods.com, you can reach us there. And, our customer service team and anyone else would be happy to assist you in your questions. So when will the recording be posted? I believe, yes, and this recording will be posted next week. But yeah, again, Greg and Diana, thank you again. Can't thank you enough for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Of course.
Right. Thank you to everyone, and have a great weekend.